Hello, hello, hello. Got it? Okay. Again, welcome everybody. So, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to waive the reading of the warrant and return of service thereof, and to authorize the moderator pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 15, to declare a two-thirds vote on voice votes if he deems to do so.
Is there a second?
Second.
Explanation? No, that's just the housekeeping rule that say I can call a two-thirds vote. If at any time you don't agree with mine, you can ask for a different vote, and we can go forward. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Article 2.
Good evening. I got my phone here because we made a change in the motion, so I'm going to read it, Mr. Moderator, if I may. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate funds for the operating expenses for the town for fiscal year 2022, and further to transfer the sum of $300,000 from free cash, so-called as certified on July 1st, 2021, as printed in the warrant.
Is there a second? Explanation.
Well, I'm about to read about 30 items that we're going to appropriate this evening.
Okay, and on this one, Dave's going to go right down the list, reading it out. If there's something that you would like to discuss, all you have to do, as he hits that line item, just yell out "hold," and we'll come back to it afterwards. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So, for this year, which is 2022, administrative and finance is $264,824. Town clerk, $71,858. Town treasurer collector, $140,608. Compensation reserve, $70,000. Operations support, $98,393. Elections and registration, $14,400. Economic development and advertising, $112,682. Town debt and interest, $13,000. Audit reserve account, $786,882. Insurance and bonds, which is OPEP, $756,790. Land use department, $461,642. Town buildings, $94,507. General government subtotal, $2,885,586. Police department, $1,279,643. Fire department, $634,184. Emergency management, $33,622. Ambulance squad, $490,602. Public safety total is $2,438,051. Vocational education, $191,360. Educational subtotal, $191,360. Highway department, $672,360. Snow and ice, $257,005. Cemetery, $32,398. Public works subtotal, $961,763. Board of Health, $198,284. Veteran Services, $53,206. Human Services subtotal, $251,490. The Community Center, $418,499. Cultural Council grants, $5,000. Cultural District, $7,500. Academy Building, $7,774. Historical Commission, $23,450. Celebrations, $2,200. Cultural and recreational subtotal, $464,423. Lenox Library, $421,004. Total library, $421,004. Totals are $7,613,677.
Okay. We have a couple of hold points on here. So if you would like to speak or you have a question, please just come down and stand in front of one of these two microphones. If wait for me to acknowledge you, and then you can come up and speak. First one's on audit reserve account. There was a question. And start by saying your name and your address, please.
Dave Klausmeyer, 8 Schermerhorn Park. Both on item 9 and item 10, I just wanted to have further explanation as to what this, these large accounts are made up of, to better understand where the money is being spent.
Mr. Moderator, Christopher Ketchen, 388 Housatonic Street, Town Manager. So, audit reserve and other non-departmental is the account where we fund the town's annual independent audit. It's where we fund the town council fees. It's where we fund the finance committee's reserve account. It's where we fund our group purchasing services with our regional joint purchasing arrangement. And the largest, by far, line item in this account is the $647,000 assessment from the Berkshire County Retirement Fund. It's to pay all all non-MTRS or Mass Teachers Retirement eligible public employees who are eligible for pension. Insurance and bonds, this is where we fund our risk management, including items such as workers' compensation, multi-peril. It's where the deductibles for insurance claims are housed. It is the two largest line items in this, actually three largest line items are $180,000 for the multi-peril package. It's a big part of our property and casualty insurance. And our OPEB trust, which was funded at $0 last year. We're looking to resume our pre-funding of our unfunded actuarial liability, which we typically would pay about $500,000 to $600,000 a year. We were at $0 last year as a result of the financial uncertainty of the pandemic. We're going in for $250,000 this year and hopefully ramping up. The current balance in that fund is over $6.1 million. And retiree health insurance. This is insurance for those who retire at 65. You go on Medicare. The law entitles you to an actuarially equivalent level of coverage. So this is where most of the retirees on our plans, we pay for a Medicare supplemental that achieves the actuarial minimum required by statute.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, we are voting on Article 2. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Article 3.
Robert Vaughn, 10 Post Road. I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds in the Treasury the sum of $14,198,680 or any other sum for the operating expenses of the school department for the fiscal year 2022.
Is there a second? explanation?
Okay, first, I've got a little statement here. I didn't have a chance to do this last year. I'd like to thank Mr. Maximilian and the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Ketchen, our town manager, and Mr. McNinch, our town moderator, for allowing me to make this presentation tonight. I speak on behalf of the school committee, Megan, Veronica, Christine, Bob, Dave, and Orrin. I'd like to recognize and thank all the educators and support staff who've had to switch gears and engage in multiple modes of instruction to continue to educate our students through COVID, as well as parents and students for whom these last 15 months have often required great sacrifice. This has been a difficult year for parents, students, and school personnel, and I wish to thank all for their patience and perseverance through remote, hybrid, and in-person learning. I want to recognize some employees who are retiring this year: Ann Barber, Jean Teasdale, Kate Harding, Bobby Omolenchuk, and Vice Principal Brian Cogswell here at LMMHS. And Karen Miller, Paul Hayes, and Kathy Kosher at Morris School. Thank you for your service. I also wish to thank the 3 members of the school committee who stepped down this year: Anne Marie O'Brien, Molly Elliott, and Francie Sorrentino. All made significant contributions in their terms on the committee. I especially wish to recognize Francie, who served for 4 terms and has always been a strong advocate for our students, especially those who might need an additional boost now and then, has listened closely to all townspeople, and been a real cheerleader for our schools. She stepped up when COVID first arrived and prepared hundreds of meals for citizens who could benefit. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do for your schools and your community, Francie. And an enormous thanks to Dr. William Cameron, who stayed on for a second year as interim superintendent. He's not here tonight because he's negotiating with the teachers in Pittsfield tonight, and was absolutely the right person to guide us through this most difficult year. In addition to guiding us through COVID, he had the additional good fortune to have an expensive and time-consuming asbestos remediation. I'm sure he's going to enjoy his retirement in a couple of days. Now, the school department portion of the budget is significant, and I wanted to speak briefly about it. Dr. Cameron has prepared, along with his administrative staff, a responsible budget that will meet the school district's needs for the year ahead. To this end, and not wishing to take for granted the high level of support that the schools receive from our community, he's worked in concert with town leaders to place the school's needs in context with town needs. You have read that there is concern that our budget is heavily weighed on the personnel costs, 85% of the budget. This is true. The guideline for all schools, the general guideline as the percentage of the budget that's spent for personnel is between 80 and 85% for all schools. Education is heavily people-driven, so all districts typically fall within this range. As we've tried to be conservative in our budgeting in recent years, the 15 to 20% of the budget that's non-personnel gets smaller and smaller, meaning the percentage of the personnel part gets a little bit larger because we've been trying to hold the line on lots of things but maintain our program. The budget before you has been approved by our town manager and has been approved by the school committee, selectmen, and finance committee. The school committee and I thank you for your continued support. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, just a clarification on your motion. That's just, it's to raise and appropriate, correct?
Raise and appropriate $14,198,680.
Thank you. Anyone? Discussion? Okay, this is, would you like to vote with the machines? Just to make everyone, let's try it out anyways. We can use the machines, that's fine for this one. If you'd like to vote with the clickers. Everyone have their clicker out? You ready for that? Yeah, I'm glad you're prepared. All right, so a 1 vote is in favor of the motion, Article 3, and a 2 is against. Can you repeat that, please? Which one? A 1 vote is in favor of the motion, and 2 is against. So feel free. You can vote starting now. Yeah. 10 seconds left. Motion carries. Article 4.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to make the following appropriations to fund the fiscal year 2022 budget for the Water Department. Water operations, $631,557. Debt service, $721,350, and zero capital expenditures for a total of $1,352,907. And further, to provide for said appropriations from the following sources of revenue and available funds. User charges, $1,352,907 for a total of $1,352,907.
Is there a second?
Second.
Explanation.
This is typical of every year we do this. The Water and Sewer Department, the next article I'll read, are self-funding. They're an enterprise fund, and they pay for their own operation.
Okay. Voting on Article 4. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article 5.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to make the following appropriations to fund the fiscal year 2022 budget for the Sewer Department. Sewer operations, $902,453. Debt service, $752,069. And capital expenditures of $220,000 for a total of $1,874,522. And further, to provide for said appropriations from the following sources of revenue and available funds. User charges, $1,654,522, and a quick explanation in a second on that, and retained earnings of $220,000 for a total of $1,874,522.
Is there a second?
Second.
Explanation.
The same as before. It's an enterprise fund, and they kind of pay their way as they go. What I wanted to mention in here is, and probably some people picked up on this, is the user charges in the warrant are $20,000 off. The user charges in the warrant say $1,634,421, but the actual number is $1,654,522. It was just a typographical error as the warrant was printed.
Okay, we're voting on Article 5. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Article 6.
Article 6. I move that the town vote to accept funds being provided by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts under the provisions of Chapter 90 of the General Laws to pay for such costs as allowed by appropriate legislation in connection with the maintenance, repair, and construction of town ways and bridges.
Is there a second?
Second.
Explanation.
This article provides funding to repair and pave roadways. The amount allocated by the Commonwealth is approximately $280,000 in fiscal year 2021. These funds will be made available to aid the town's ongoing paving efforts. Each year, the Commonwealth allocates transportation funds designated for local use, also known as Chapter 90.
Okay, we're voting on Article 6. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article 7.
Good evening. I'm going to start with a little public service announcement before I read Article 7. Everybody can get a copy of this out in the lobby, and within the pages is a great Town of Lenox Committee application. We would love to have you, if you have interest in affordable housing, the Lenox Cultural Council, Community Preservation Committee, the Lenox Historic District Commission, the Ambulance Squad, the Cable Advisory Committee, the Scholarship Committee, or the Environmental Committee are just a few of the many opportunities there are to help do everything that is necessary in the town of Lenox. We would love it if you would fill this out, turn it in to the town clerk's office, and come on and help us here in the town of Lenox. Now, Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or otherwise provide the sum of $875,200 or any other sum for the following capital expenditures. The Highway Department expenditures, $250,000. School Department expenditures, $370,200. Fire Department expenditures, $175,000. Police Department expenditures, $65,000. Land use expenditures, $5,000. Ambulance expenditures, $10,000. And further, to provide for said appropriations to transfer from free cash as certified on July 1st, 2021, the sum of $875,200, or to take any other action in relation thereto.
Is there a second? Explanation?
These are capital expenditures set out for each one of these 6 departments in order to move capital projects forward.
Okay, we're voting on Article 7. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you. I do not know the answer to that question. I don't know. If you come into the town clerk's office, I'm sure they can find out the answer to that question for you. Thank you.
Good evening. Select Board, Chief Administrative Officer, Town Manager Christopher Ketchen, Moderator John McNinch, Town Clerk Carrie Sullivan, Lenox. Thank you for being here tonight. Article 8, I move the town vote from the Community Preservation Fund the amount of $523,224.40 as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee. CPA category Historic Preservation. Lenox Library Dome Ceiling Restoration, $100,000. Unrestricted fund. Trinity Church, $51,500. Unrestricted fund. Church on the Hill, $40,350. Unrestricted fund. St. Anne's Church, $100,000. Unrestricted fund. Annual library debt service, $118,875, unrestricted fund, for a total category amount of $410,725. CPA category community housing, Lenox Affordable Housing Trust, $112,499.40, community housing. Total expenditures, $523,224.40. CPA reserves, 10% of the annual revenues estimated. Historic preservation, $37,500 for fiscal year 2022. Annual reserves. Community housing, $37,500. Community housing, open space, $37,500 for a total of $112,500.
Is there a second? Explanation.
Article 8, the library dome ceiling restoration is the library is seeking the funds for stabilization and repair of the dome ceiling. Trinity Church. This project includes repairs of the church on the hill to replace the roof. Excuse me, I apologize. This project includes the repair of two leaks in the church, and place a roof over the newly completed ramp at the parish house. Trinity serves as a gateway to the Lenox Cultural District. St. Anne's Church. The total cost of the project will be approximately $500,000, with additional funding being provided from loans estimated at $300,000 and direct fundraising of $100,000. The project includes major restoration and renovation to the exterior of St. Anne's Church, built in or around 1911 to 1912 and located on Main Street in the center of Lenox. Church on the Hill. These funds are requested to help fund the restoration of the clock, the bell, and the bell tower of the Church on the Hill meeting house at 169 Main Street, and to help redirect drainage away from the foundation at the chapel at 55 Main Street. Library debt service at $118,875. This is annual housekeeping to pay down our debt service on the library. Lenox Affordable Housing Trust. The trust administers affordable home ownership program for income-eligible households and provides first-time home buyers deferred payment and loan program and grants.
Kate McNulty Vaughn, 10 Post Road. Tony, I have a question. I noticed that all of the historic are coming out of the unrestricted funds. The community housing is, the funding source for the affordable housing is coming out of community housing. Is there no funding available from the historic that would
As you're
cover
gonna
some of this?
as you're gonna see in the next next line item, we're actually gonna be moving funds.
See, you're moving the current funds that are coming in, correct?
What's that?
You're moving the current funds that are coming in.
Correct.
So
To
there isn't
clear
any
up a previous
build-up from previous years.
to clear up a previous balance. Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank
So
you.
thank you.
Okay, we're voting on Article 8. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 9.
Article 9, I move that the town vote to transfer $111,745.04 from the Community Preservation Unrestricted Fund balance to the Community Preservation Historic Resource Fund for fiscal year 2021 project expenses.
Is there a second? Second. Explanation?
This is a housekeeping item.
Okay, we're voting on Article 9. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Article 10.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. To see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds $175,000 or any other sum to be placed in the fire engine stabilization account or take any other action in relation thereto.
Is there a second? Explanation.
The town of Lenox has always chosen to save up for obsolete equipment, when it becomes obsolete. In this case, the fire truck. So we put aside some money every year so that when the time arises when we need a new piece of apparatus, we have the cash.
Okay, we're voting on Article 10. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article 11.
Mr. Moderator, to see if the town will vote to create, in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 5B of the general laws, an ambulance stabilization fund, and further to transfer from available funds the sum of $50,000 to be placed in said fund or take any other action in relation to ship thereto.
Is there a second? Explanation.
Similar to the previous article, we also reserve money for ambulance and ambulance equipment.
Okay, we're voting on Article 11. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Article 12.
Mr. Moderator, Tom Delasco, 12 Hillside Drive, Permanent Building Committee member. I move that the town vote to appropriate $1 million to be expended by the Permanent Building Committee to pay for design, engineering, repair, and construction in the Dome Room at the Lenox Library, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7, Paragraph 1, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Is there a second? Explanation.
Okay, in late 2019, library staff observed that its historic dome room ceiling was deteriorating with multiple cracks in the plaster, water damage, and separation from the ring structure in one corner. The town retained the services of GNCB consulting engineers to assess the condition of the dome room ceiling and supporting structure, then provide a report of their observations and preliminary recommendations for repair and restoration. Using the results of GNCB's 2020 report, which identified substantial structural stabilization required for the ceiling, the library submitted a request for funding to the Lenox Community Preservation Committee for $100,000, which you just approved in Article 8, towards a preliminary total estimated cost of $1 million for the repair and restoration. In February of this year, after interviewing several engineering and architectural firms, the Permanent Building Committee recommended that the town retain the firm of Lacey, Thaler, Riley, and Wilson to complete the detailed design for the repair and restoration. Included in their scope was a more refined estimate of the repair and restoration costs. As of the writing of Article 12, this estimate had not been yet completed. In the meantime, the library applied for and was awarded a $200,000 grant from the Massachusetts Cultural Council toward the repair and restoration of the Lenox Libraries, and the Lenox Library Association has committed about $50,000 towards the project and is continuing efforts to raise additional funds. To date, the town has, through grants and fundraising, a total of $350,000 towards the repair and restoration. If the estimated cost of the repair and restoration comes in at $1 million, the town would only need to borrow the balance of $650,000. The motion to appropriate $1 million gives the town latitude in borrowing if the cost estimate comes back higher than anticipated.
Okay, this is the vote on Article 12. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 13.
Jeff Vincent, 219 Walker Street. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate $750,000 to be expended by the Permanent Building Committee to pay for the design, engineering, repair, and construction for the town hall roof, cupola, and building, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, Section 7-1, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Is there a second? Explanation.
Mr. Moderator, the town hall is one of Lenox's most actively used publicly owned buildings. The town hall is 120 years old now, and it's in need of some roof repair. There is now an issue of water infiltration and deteriorating roof elements, and to protect against more serious structural damage, it is the committee's recommendation that funds be appropriated to allow the town to identify and remedy these ongoing issues. The committee, based on preliminary engineering analysis, feels that there are not significant structural issues yet. These funds will allow us to make that final determination and to move ahead with needed repairs.
Okay, we're voting on Article 13. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Article 14.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and this is another article for the Permanent Building Committee. I move the town vote to appropriate $3 million to be expended by the Permanent Building Committee to pay for design and engineering of upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant, including with the payments of all costs incidental and related thereto, and this part you've heard before in the last two articles, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, 58, 14, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes to the town therefore. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment and cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Number 20, therefore reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay costs by a like amount. And this is a 2/3 vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
Explanation.
Well, this isn't anything new. This is our wastewater treatment plant. Currently, we have a wastewater treatment plant that was built in probably 1970 with a 30-year lifespan. So do the math. We're running on borrowed time here. One thing we say we've been waiting for is when the federal government actually dictates to us with the new phosphorus removal number we need, we will start the planning. And that's come. The time has come. I've been a selectman for 10 years, and every year on our capital budget, we've always had a number out there for a wastewater treatment plant, and it's always a huge number, and it's always an unknown actual number. But we know it's all coming. We knew it was coming, and this is the first step to move towards that. But it's a lot of unfunded mandates. It's what you have to do to keep a town running the way you have to keep a town running, and this is the direction we have to go. As I say, this is the first step to get the engineering started.
Okay, we're voting on Article 14. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank
Just
you.
on a side note, it carries by unanimous. On a side note, aren't we glad we're not outside for this meeting right now? Article 15.
Okay, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate $2,100,000 to be expended by the Permanent Building Committee to pay for design and engineering services for a new public safety building, including the payment and all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under the pursuant to General Law, Chapter 44, 7.7, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes to the town therefore. Any premium received upon the sale of these bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premiums applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44:20, thereby reducing the like amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such cost by a like amount.
Second. Explanation.
Oh boy, I have an explanation. We have a, we're lucky, we're very fortunate. We have a fantastic police department, a fantastic ambulance squad, and a fantastic fire department. No, hands down, that we have that. And there's, the town has stuck by these men and women. We've, we provide them funding for training, for equipment, for almost anything they need. We realize what an asset we have with these people, and we try to do the best we can by them. The only thing we haven't done yet is the next logical step is to provide them with a place to do their work, and that's what we're trying to do here. Our situations in the buildings, the police department is in the cellar of the town hall, and it's just woefully inadequate for modern police techniques and technologies and what you need to run a police department. Same said for the fire department and the ambulance squad. Again, this has been something that's been in the cooker for a while. We did a needs assessment study 2 years ago, and of course that got put on hold last year with all that happened. So this is our next step in moving forward with that. No idea. This is for design. You got to understand that we're not exactly sure where the building would be put. There are some questions that have to come up, but we're taking advantage of very, very low interest rates to borrow money now and make a design, even if we only get to 80% completion of the design, until we find out exactly where the building will go, which I anticipate will be shortly, more short than later. So that's where we stand with this.
Voting on Article 15. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you very
16.
much.
Article 16.
I hope all of our houses don't float away. I move Article 16. I move that the town vote to appropriate $2,300,000 to pay for the design and construction of a replacement water main on Reservoir Road, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, and that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the selectmen, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 8, Paragraph 5, or any other enabling authority, and to issue bonds or notes of the town therefore. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount. This requires a 2/3 vote.
Is there a second? Explanation.
We need to replace the water main on Reservoir Road to safely get water from the Lenox Reservoir to the townspeople.
Okay, we're voting on Article 16. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you. Article 17. I move that we approve Article 17 exactly as written in the warrant. It's rather lengthy.
Is there a second? Explanation?
Okay.
Explanation?
Thank you. This is about Edith Wharton Park and the transfer of the care and custody and control of a portion of the land. This is a tremendous opportunity for the town of Lenox to transfer this unique property to the Mount, which will improve, restore, and use the property to further its mission of promoting the Edith Wharton homestead, Wharton's love of the written word, and telling an amazing story. Basically, what's going to be happening is the towns of Lee and Lenox are acting together to transfer a portion of the land to the Mount, and then, according to Article 97, additional lands will be put into open space conservation, and thereby making this seamless transfer to the Mount. Both towns will be compensated for this transfer as is appropriate, and that's what we're hoping to do with your vote here today.
Go ahead, Patty.
I think I have to lower this.
Start with your name and
My name is Patty Spector, and I live on 185 Hubbard Street.
can we get some more volume on that one, please?
What's that?
I'm asking for more volume. We can't hear you.
I'll stand closer. There we go. Okay, I move to amend Article 17 of the town warrant to reduce the portion of land proposed to be transferred from 3.4 acres to 1.39 acres. Such portion consisting of the parcel designated as Lot 2 on the survey dated April 2nd, 2012, and referenced in the article. And to further amend Article 17 to include, as conditions of the transfer, a right of first refusal to the towns of Lee and Lenox in the event of a subsequent sale, and a right of public access along the parcel's shoreline.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, can I have an explanation on the amendment, or? This is just an amendment to that, so any discussion right now will be on this amendment only.
Certainly.
And then after the amendment, we'll discuss the article.
Okay, the reduction in land from 3.4 acres to 1.39 acres, if any of you picked up your maps out front, you will see the slice of land that was originally in the warrant, or is originally in the warrant right now, which actually takes up part of the shoreline along Laurel Lake. The Mount does not need this shoreline. They just want the land surrounding the farmhouse, and they would like Lee and Lenox to have this land in perpetuity as they do right now. So they prefer for the town of Lee and Lenox to keep it. The other part of the amendment is to be in agreement with what was passed in the town of Lee, so that since both towns need to pass this warrant, that both towns have exactly the same wording. Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion on the amendment? Okay, oh, go ahead.
Dave Newbert, 140 Plunkett Street. So what you're saying, if we don't pass this amendment, then this doesn't go through because we're not in agreement with Lee? Is that what this means?
Not necessarily, no. Any more discussion on the amendment? Okay, so vote is strictly for the amendment. Okay, it's a majority vote. So all in favor of the amendment as proposed, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, vote carries. Okay, so now we'll talk about the article. So I know, Susan, are you here? Yeah, if you want to come over. Susan is not registered in Lenox, so I would need 10 people who would be willing to allow her to speak. Just raise your hands. That's plenty. There you go. Susan, please step up. Introduce yourself.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Susan Whistler, representing the Mount at 2 Plunkett Street in Lenox. And so I thought Mary Beth did a wonderful job sort of summarizing the article, so I won't take too much time. But the farmhouse parcel we are seeking to acquire was part of Wharton's original estate. She and Teddy built it in 1906. It's a beautiful arts and crafts style, sort of industrial turn-of-the-century structure, and it's in disrepair. And while the conservation commissions who have jurisdiction over it do a wonderful job maintaining and preserving the 16-acre meadow that abuts it, the rehabilitation of the farmhouse is really beyond what sort of their purpose, and both Lee and Lenox have indicated pretty strongly that they don't have the resources to dedicate to the rehabilitation of the house. But the preservation of Wharton's estate is right within the wheelhouse of the Mount. That is part of our mission. It's a big part of our mission. And so we're very excited to be undertaking this project. The amendments that Patty explained are all to the benefit of the towns of Lee and Lenox. Basically, it's reduced the size of the parcel, so the shoreline, again, is preserved. The right of first refusal is something that Lee asked for and which I support, but it means that should the Mount ever fall into financial disrepair again or a sale be proposed of the farmhouse, the two towns would have the right to step in and make a decision as to whether or not they would like to reacquire the property. And then the last provision preserves public access to the shoreline, and public access is something the Mount is deeply committed to. In the past 3 years, we've put about 120 acres under conservation restriction and opened up trails with public access to them. Since COVID began, our gardens and grounds and trails have remained open to the public for free. So public access is what we're all about, and I really see this acquisition as the next step in making the Mount open and accessible for all. So thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm Janet Pumphrey, 317 Under Mountain Road, and I'm speaking in favor of the proposal. In the early 80s, I was on either the first or the second Mount Board of Trustees, the Mount being the Edith Wharton Restoration Incorporated.
Get the mic closer
talk
to your mouth.
closer, yeah. We had our board meetings in Edith Wharton's library, and you know the library now is so beautiful, but our board meetings in the early 80s, we sat around on gray folding chairs. There was no Edith Wharton library. There certainly were no books. There was no furniture. There were no rugs. There was nothing. And we wore coats during the board meeting because it was cold and it was unheated. So fast forward from the early 80s to now, I mean, if anybody can turn that dilapidated farmhouse with overgrown plants into a beautiful, beautiful structure, it's Susan Whistler. Thank you.
Okay. We're voting on Article 17. All in favor of the article, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 18.
Okay, Article 18. This is a companion piece to what we just passed. I move that the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire by gift 2 parcels of land on Walker Street, described as Open Space 1, containing 0.51 acres more or less, and Open Space 2, containing 3.97 acres more or less. Said parcels shown on a plan entitled Approval Not Required Plan of land in Lenox, Massachusetts, prepared for Lenox Landing Condominium Trust, dated December 2nd, 2020, prepared by BEK Associates, on file with the town clerk. Said land being a portion of the property described in a deed recorded with the Berkshire Middle District Registry of Deeds in Book 6459, page 21, and property being acquired for the purpose of conservation and open space, and to authorize the Board of Selectmen to take such actions and execute such documents as are deemed necessary to acquire said property upon such terms and conditions as the Board of Selectmen deems appropriate, or take any other action in relation thereto.
Is there a second? Second. Explanation.
Okay, so Article 97 requires that when land is taken out of conservation and open space, of which a certain parcel of this property will be transferred to the Mount, other open space and conservation land needs to go in. We were very lucky to have Stone Path Development submit for a special permit. Let me read this because I'm going to screw this up. In November 2017, Stone Path Development Incorporated filed a petition for a special permit for exception under Section 9.7 Open Space Flexible Development of the Lenox zoning bylaw to create a 9-home development at the property identified as 241 Walker Street. The planning board granted the special permit, and a decision was filed on May 18th, 2018 for Stone Path Development Incorporated, and included in the special permit was the requirement of a conveyance of a designated open space 1.51 acres and open space 2, 3.97 acres to the town of Lenox as shown on a plan entitled Approval Not Required Plan of Land in Lenox, Massachusetts Property, Massachusetts, prepared for Lenox Landing Condominium Trust. This is the land that's being acquired for the purpose of conservation and open space, swapping out or swapping in for the Mount property which is being swapped out, or the property intended to go to the Mount being swapped out.
Susan May, 40 Old Stockbridge Road. Will the amendment that was just voted on and passed to reduce the amount of acreage in the Mount sale, will that have any effect if this is a swap with quotation marks?
We are accepting this into open space and conservation, and it is just a happy accident now that we are swapping in a greater deal of land than is going to be swapped out.
Thank you.
Okay, we are voting on Article 18. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank
Article
you.
19.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to adopt the new Section 16 of Chapter 13 of the Town of Lenox bylaws as follows. Fireworks, pyrotechnics, and other explosive devices are prohibited in the wetland area known as Parsons Marsh. This prohibition shall include a 300-foot buffer surrounding the marsh.
Is there a second? Explanation.
At last September's town meeting, you approved a citizen petition to ban fireworks and other explosive devices from the area surrounding Parsons Marsh, specifically while contemplating other wetland areas generally. However, the form of the citizen petition was not compatible with the town bylaw. Therefore, we're presenting this article to you at this town meeting, which accomplishes the intent of the petition that you approved last year, while to do so in a manner that makes the subsequent law enforceable.
Okay, we are voting on Article 19. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. It carries. Article 20.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw to regulate agricultural uses under Section 8.14 by amending definitions under Section 4 and amending the schedule of uses.
Is there a second? Can I get an explanation?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name's Pam Kieber, and I'm chair of the Planning Board. This bylaw, these proposed amendments relate to the way we zone for and regulate agricultural uses in Lenox. Currently, I meant to tell you, you have two handouts from us because we thought we were going to be outdoors. The yellow piece of paper is the one I'm going to kind of work through in this presentation to ensure you understand the bylaw, and the blue copy is the draft bylaw in its entirety. So going back to currently, portions of the town's agricultural bylaws are not compliant with state law. The Planning Board worked to correct the deficiencies, and in the process, we also assessed how the bylaw could be improved. In particular, we considered how residents are using or want to use their land for agricultural purposes today and into the future, all with an eye to the fact that we are fundamentally a rural community, and anything we can do to help our residents be more self-sustaining should be encouraged. This draft bylaw includes feedback from a public hearing and from the Zoning Board of Appeals. During our public hearing, we are very appreciative of hearing from one resident who suggested we look at quote unquote right to farm zoning for Lenox. This is another way to regulate, or maybe better said, deregulate agriculture that had not come up to us before. And we committed to looking into it further for possible future consideration. Meanwhile, we believe that tonight's proposal improves upon our existing bylaw, including the ability to have chickens and to sell garden produce. Important to note, this agricultural bylaw does not include the cultivation of marijuana. Marijuana cultivation is not controlled at the state level by the agricultural bylaw, nor is it in our bylaw controlled by agricultural. It's a whole different set of regulations, so this is not including marijuana. If you want to flip over to slide 2, I want to take you through the basically 4 things that this bylaw did as we worked through it. We did change the definitions and the use table a bit. This is where some of the non-compliance with state law unfortunately was. Just for your information, exempt agricultural uses are by right by state law, and they usually, and they encompass anyone with 5 acres or more. So that's exempt. The state controls it. We really don't have much control. It's a lot of freedom for people who do commercial agriculture under the exempt provisions. Non-exempt agriculture is for properties less than 5 acres, and that's what we, Lenox, allow to occur by special permit. So the first thing we did, definitions and uses, made them legal. The second thing that we did while we had the bylaw open was to look at farm stands and how we zoned for them, particularly, well, in particular, in residential districts. Now, again, under these exempt and non-exempt uses, a farm stand can be part of what people want to do at this commercial level. Previously, there were no particular standards for this commercial use in residential districts. Since residential districts are usually protected from commercial uses, we felt it prudent to establish some standards for this use. Standards such as setbacks, hours of operations, signage, lighting, again recognizing that these would be in residential districts. Third, backyard chickens. The proposed changes make it easier for residents to keep chickens for personal use with a few requirements to be respectful of neighbors. In our current bylaw, you can only keep chickens if you have 100-foot setbacks on the rear and the side. This was very limited to many residents who wanted to have chickens because essentially you needed 100 foot this way, 100 feet that way, and space in the middle for your chickens. And that's kind of like 225, 250 feet of frontage, which is not, uncommon for many residents. The new bylaw makes keeping chickens by right a by right use as long as you meet several standards. These include meeting normal established setbacks, so rather than 100 feet, or like 25 feet in most residential neighborhoods, but balancing that off, setting a maximum number of chickens, and a few other things to be respectful of your neighbors. The fourth thing and last thing that we did was talk about neighborhood farm stands. New to this bylaw, we recommend that selling produce from your personal garden on a roadside table or other small structure be by right, again with several requirements to be respectful of neighbors. Previously, or currently, if you have a small stand to sell excess produce from your own garden, it's not technically legal within our bylaw. But like keeping chickens, we suggest making this a by right use, and there's no permits required, as long as you meet several standards. And I do want to note here as well that the Board of Health limits what can be sold in this manner. And when we were working on the bylaw, we reached out to the Board of Health, and they told us they'd actually had quite a few calls during COVID from people who had gotten chickens and wanted to sell eggs, and they wanted to know what the rules are. So Board of Health rules exist for this use. So those are the highlights of the amended bylaw. Again, the Planning Board's approach was to make necessary legal changes and at the same time make it easier for residents to enjoy and participate in the benefits of agriculture in our community. The Planning Board supported this unanimously. It's endorsed by the Select Board, and we hope that you will also vote yes. Thank you. No questions about chickens? You're allowed to have 18 chickens if you have fewer than 2 acres, 24 if you have more than 2 acres, and a rooster must have 1 acre.
All right, we're voting on Article 20. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 21.
Mr. Moderator, I move to waive the reading of Article 21 as written in the town warrant.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Explanation.
Yes, sir. They're planning a bridge replacement on Roaring Brook Road. So let me just, in case you don't know where Roaring Brook Road is, it runs from New Lenox to Lee on the easterly side. It parallels the Housatonic River. It's a relatively small project. There's no town funds involved. It's going to be done by the state. And the only reason for this article is to allow the town to grant some easements or take some easements for some temporary easements for work that related to the building of the bridge. There's only going to be one permanent easement. It's for an area like this for a guy wire on a telephone pole. Everything else is just for working at the site as they're working on it. It's typical of a lot of construction jobs they do. We did that on Walker Street, that project. So this is not a new thing, but it's just one of those legal things that we have to actually do.
Okay, we're voting on Article 21. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Article 22.
Article 22, I move that the town vote to authorize payment in the amount of $1,966.62 for FY20 unpaid invoices, or to take any other action in relation thereto.
Explanation.
There were some unpaid invoices at the end of last year, and we need to pay them.
Okay, we're voting on Article 22. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that wraps up our evening. So if I can get a motion to adjourn. There we go. Everyone have a beautiful day and try to stay dry.